Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello, and we are down to our last part for the event. Hello, everyone. This is Dale again, one of the education counselors from Fortress Philippines. For those who were not able to attend the first part of our event, you can check our Facebook Live on our official page, Fortress Education Makati. For the last part of Open Day with North Island College, I would like to introduce to you our guest. We have Claire and Megan to discuss the digital design and development. Hello, Megan and Claire. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we can start with the discussion.
Okay. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Claire Guillot, and I'm faculty in the Digital Design and Development Department at North Island College. I teach courses such as graphic design, UI, UX, and WordPress. I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Paris, France, but when I was 17, I went to university in England. I studied a Bachelor of Science in Product Design and have been working as a graphic designer, web developer ever since. I started teaching only 2 years ago, but I really enjoy it. And I still work freelance too, and I always have a commercial project on the side that I'm working on. But I find that working in the industry and teaching at the same time is a great combination because I get to discuss my projects with my students and they get to see how real world projects evolve. So today I'm going to start my screen share. Here we go. I would like to talk to you about creativity and design thinking. If you choose to enroll in any one of our digital design and development programs, then design thinking is a topic that we'll address early in your studies, and we'll come back to it over and over again in various courses while you're working on different projects. I'll explain more about it. So here are the topics that we're going to explore. We're going to try to define what creativity is, and we'll try to understand how that is different to innovation. Then we'll look at the design thinking process and how it can be used to create innovative ideas. We'll start off with a very quick activity. I would like you to help me define what creativity means. So I would like you to think of words that describe what a creative idea is. Take a second to think about it. You can type any words you think of in the live comments if you have access to those. So yeah, take a second. How would you describe a creative idea? What words come to your mind? So people usually describe a creative idea as a new idea. There's always this notion of novelty that goes along with creativity. And yeah, I agree with that. Creativity is coming up with new ideas. So let's explore that notion. For example, say I asked you to come up with as many other ways as possible to use a common everyday object. So for example, a key. What else could you do with a key other than use it for opening a lock? Anybody have any ideas? Again, feel free to type your comments in the live chat. Well, I came up with an idea. Clearly, you could use a key as a third eyeball for a giraffe. Maybe. That's sort of interesting. It's new. I'm assuming that no one else has thought of that, but does it have value? No, it's just kind of weird, because if you have a new idea that isn't practical, then it's of no use to you. An idea has to be actionable for it to have value, no matter how creative it is. So now if I had said you could bend a key and use it as a wall hook, or you could file it and use it as a pocket knife, or you could use it as a fishing weight, well, those ideas all work. They might not be quite as new as a third eyeball for a giraffe, but they have more value because you can act on them. They're actionable. So I would like to suggest that creativity is completely overrated. Take, for example, suppose you know two artists. One tells you an idea for a great painting, but he doesn't paint it. You could easily say, but the other artist has the same great idea and he paints it. You could say that the second man is a great creative artist, but could you say the same thing of the first artist? I don't think so. He's a talker, not a painter. Creativity without action is pointless. An idea has to be actionable for it to have value. Ted Levitt, he was an American economist and a professor at the Harvard Business School. And he argued that creativity can actually be destructive to businesses. He says that big thinkers can inspire abstract chatter rather than purposeful action by failing to take into account the practical matters of implementation. So what do you call a creative idea that is also actionable? Well, that's innovation. And to be innovative, an idea has to be creative and actionable. So that's what we should strive for. We should strive for innovation, not creativity. In fact, Ted Levitt also said, creativity is thinking up new things, but innovation is doing new things. So how do we strive for innovation? Well, don't worry. There's a process we can follow. And it's called design thinking. Design thinking is a process that leads to innovation. And it's a process that anyone can use to solve problems creatively. I'd like to show you another quote now. Tim Brown, he's the CEO of IDEO. IDEO is a design and consulting firm with offices all over the world. The company uses design thinking as an approach to design products, services, environments, and digital experiences. And Tim Brown says that design thinking is a discipline that uses the designer's sensibility and methods to match people's needs with what is technologically feasible and a viable business strategy. I'll give you a second to digest that quote. Look at Tim. He's a perfect designer. He's got the perfect little goatee and the black glasses. If he doesn't know what design thinking is, then no one does. At this point, you're probably wondering, well, how does all of this apply to me? Design thinking is something that you can apply in your everyday life. I'm hoping that it's going to come clear as we move forward. But first, let's do a little activity. So if you have a piece of paper, I have some here. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, or you could even, if you don't have paper, that's fine. You can just use your mind. I would like you to visualize a present in your mind, or draw it if you can. So I want you to draw in your mind's eye a gift, a present. Think about what a present looks like. I'll give you a second while I draw it. Okay. You're thinking about what a present looks like. Or you're drawing it if you have a piece of paper in front of you. Okay. Okay, so were you thinking of something that looks like this? Okay. That's good. Most of you probably drew or thought of a box with a ribbon around it. Have you ever received a present that actually looks like that? Most of us don't get presents like this, or not often. So why do we draw them like this? Well, it's a simple drawing that everyone understands. It's a graphical vernacular that is universally understood. So the first lesson I'd like you to take away from this exercise is that you don't need to be original to be able to create things that will be understood. In other words, you don't need to be creative to create solutions that work. Okay, so now we're going to look at what the design thinking process actually is. Now, there are 5 steps to design thinking, and this is a widely accepted process that is used in many, many disciplines, from engineering to architecture to web design. The 5 steps are emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So empathize means that you start by thinking about the user, the audience, the person who will use your design. You research what they were like and you try to put yourself in their shoes. You try to think like they do. Once your research is done, you define the problem that you are trying to solve. You're coming up with your strategy. Next, you have to ideate. You come up with ideas that could solve that problem. You pick the best idea, you turn it into a prototype, and you test it. This process isn't always linear because at every step you learn something new, which means that you might have to backtrack and change the parameters of the project. But the key here really is that it's a human-centered approach. See, it all starts with empathy, with trying to put yourself in someone else's mind. Now, design thinking is an attitude. It's an approach to problem solving, and you can use it for all sorts of things, small problems, big problems, massive commercial projects. I've been designing for 20 years now, and I can't think in any other way. For example, say my daughter Ellie is upset. It's the morning, and we're having breakfast in the kitchen, and she's upset, and I don't know why. I'll empathize. What is she feeling right now? Where is she at? What happened in Ellie's world this morning? Then I'll define and I'll strategize. Well, I know that this happened, but I want that to happen. I want her to feel better again. Then I'll ideate. I'll come up with ideas. Okay, what could I do that will make her feel better? I know. I'll make a cup of tea and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. So I implement that. I prototype it and I test it. Did it work? Does she feel better? If not, then at least I've learned something that I can take back and ideate with again. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, why did she get us to think about that present? Why did she get us to think about that gift? Well, this is part 2 of the exercise now. I want you to think about the perfect present. Not just any present, the perfect gift. Picture what it looks like in your mind, or draw it if you have another sheet of paper. Again, you can use the live comments if you like to tell us what you're thinking of. Okay, I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of chocolates. I don't know if anyone else is, but I'm thinking of a lovely box of handmade chocolates by Darkside Chocolates. They're a small local chocolate shop here in the Comox Valley, and they make the most delicious truffles. Well, I'm guessing none of you thought of a box with a ribbon around it. And here's a second takeaway from this exercise. We now have a diversity of ideas because we're thinking about the user experience. I framed the task slightly differently. I defined the problem by asking you to draw the perfect present, not just any present. And you dug deeper and you empathized with the user, and you thought of the experience of receiving a gift. Now that there's some empathy, we have a broader diversity of ideas, and I'll bet that most of them are actionable. So you see, applying empathy to idea generation leads to innovation. Now, we don't have time to go deeper than this into the topic, but there is a lot more that I would love to tell you about design thinking. And I would like to end with just one more quote. This is a quote from Paul Turnock, who was one of my professors at university. And in the very first week of classes, he said this: design is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And that's true. Creativity on its own is overrated. To come up with good ideas, you have to work through the design thinking process, and it's hard work. But I can promise you that you will end up with well thought through, novel and actionable ideas. You see, design thinking is a process that anyone can use to solve problems creatively, big or small. So let's summarize. For an idea to be creative, it needs to be novel. For an idea to be innovative, it needs to be novel and actionable. Design thinking is a 5-step problem-solving process that leads to innovation. It's a human-centered approach that uses empathy, and it can be applied to big or small problems. So that's it. That's your Design Thinking 101. I'll show my sources here. If you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A session now with Megan Wilson, and you can add your questions to the live chat. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. We're not getting very many live comments. I don't really have a lot of question and answers to give to you. I will tell you about our programs. The talk that Claire just gave on design thinking is really pertinent to everything that we do in the digital design development program area. We sort of split our programs into two different sections. We have a design side, where you learn communication design, learn how to be a web designer, make design for print and also media, so video and podcasts, all kinds of things like that. Very heavy on the digital marketing. And then we have the development side, where it's mostly coding based, so computer science heavy, learning how to write JavaScript and mobile app development and all of those sorts of things. So a really wide variety of things that we teach in our programs. We have an extremely high success rate in terms of graduates coming out and getting jobs immediately after school. And we have quite a lot of international students that do really well in our program. We had a great student from the Philippines graduate last year. His name was Dale Garcia. He got hired within 2 months of graduating. And he's been quite a star in our local tech community. And throughout all of that, though, design thinking is kind of the basis of everything, coming up with really effective, useful ideas that solve problems. I don't really have much more to say, so maybe I'll hand it over to Junko now.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Hi, everyone. This is Junko again. Thanks, Megan, and thanks, Claire, for giving us a design thinking class and also the intro about the program. It's really interesting, design thinking, because even in my field of work in recruitment, design thinking can be extremely useful. And especially when it comes to trying to organize our thoughts, organize our ideas when we are tackling some big projects. So it's a fun thing to learn. Megan, thank you so much for also introducing the programs. Our programs have a 1-year certificate, 2-year diplomas, and also 3-year advanced communication design diplomas. And each one of the program has a very experiential portion of learning. Many of our students come out with great portfolios at the end of the program that can be presented very easily to our employers, potential employers. So if you are thinking about something not creative necessarily, innovative, and you would like to work with the digital design and development, then I believe that NIC would be a really good starting point for you. And I'm going to pass it back over to Dale to see if there's anything. Dale?
All right, there you go. Thank you so much, Megan, Claire, and Junko. So I think that ends our first virtual open day with North Island College. I hope everyone enjoyed and learned a lot of things. If you have any questions and clarifications, you can message us through our Facebook page, Fortrust Education Makati. We also have free webinars, and you guys might want also to check out our Fortrust TV episodes posted in our page. Again, thank you so much for your time. This is Dale again. Have a good day. Thank you so much, Junko.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.